The Faith Matrix. Knowledge. In this series of videos, we're going to be looking at the Faith Matrix, which are 8 different dimensions of what we call faith. Think of them as 8 doorways to God. The 8 points of the matrix represent 8 doorways to God. Each one is a path to strengthen our relationship to God, which is our ultimate concern. These doors also spring both ways. Not only are they pathways to God, they are also windows to shine God's grace outward to the world. These points come in balanced pairs. And the first balance we're looking at is the balance of perception. It is how we come to experience and understand the world, and that is through reason and emotion.
Imagine knowledge like a tree, rooted and grounded in reality, growing up and branching out from one level of complexity to the next. Each truth connects to the whole, and all inevitably connects to the central truth, which is God. Logic ties the world together. Even when we do not understand the connection between things, we know that that connection exists. Truth exists even when we do not fully understand it. Our minds were created to discover the connections between things and to see how it all connects to the central truth. Faith connects through logic. But without knowledge and without logic, faith is just a tumbleweed, blowing in the wind wherever it may go. We need a logical faith if we are ever going to withstand the changes and the challenges of living. That's why we must learn to use our reason.
What is reason? According to Webster's dictionary, reason is the power of comprehending, inferring, or thinking, especially in orderly, rational ways. Reason is the ability of the mind to draw conclusions based solely on observable facts, without the influence of how we feel or for the pressure of the crowd. It is the study of observable and measurable things, whether they come from nature or nature's God. It is simply using our brains instead of our instincts. In The Study in Scarlet, Arthur Conan Doyle put these words in the mouth of Sherlock Holmes. From a drop of water, a logician could infer the possibility of an Atlantic or a Niagara without ever having seen or heard of one or the other. So all life is a great chain, the nature of which is known whenever we are shown a single link of it. Now, why is this important? Well, Proverbs 4 says, "Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget my words or swerve from them. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. Wisdom is supreme, therefore get wisdom. Though the cost all you have, get understanding. Esteem her, and she will exalt you. Embrace her, and she will honor you. She will set a garland of grace on your head and present you with a crown of splendor." Proverbs 2 states, "My son, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, and if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as silver and search for it as hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of God, of the Lord, and find the knowledge of God." Now let's talk about the virtues of knowledge. A virtue is a characteristic of the heart that we develop over time for the purpose of helping us grow closer to God. There are 4 virtues in knowledge that I want to point out to you. The first of those virtues is curiosity. Curiosity is having a desire to know. We need to encourage ourselves to ask questions and don't stop until we get answers. Then there's humility. Humility is knowing that knowing a truth is more important than being right. We can't feel that we own ideas. We don't own ideas. We have to be willing to be proven wrong and to be gracious when we are. Then there is persistence. Persistence is just to keep it learning. Don't ever give up trying to understand. Don't just accept something as true. Go until we find the answers. And finally, there is clarity. Part of knowing is being able to express it. We need to learn how to express our knowledge simply and clearly. To pursue knowledge is really exciting. Look at this quote. An intellectual is one who loves ideas, is dedicated to developing them, criticizing them, clarifying them, turning them over and over, seeing their implications, stacking them on top of another, arranging them, sitting silent while new ones pop up and old ones seem to rearrange themselves, playing with them, punning with them in their terminology, laughing at them, watching them clash, picking up pieces, starting over, judging them, withholding judgment about them, changing them, bringing them into contact with the counterparts and other systems of thought, inviting them to dine and have a ball, but also suiting them for service and everyday life. A Christian intellectual is one who does all of this above and does it to the glory of God. That's a quote from James Sire in Habits of the Mind. We see a love of knowledge in the character of Christ. Jesus sought out the greatest minds of his day, even at the age of 12. He rebuked his disciples for not knowing the scriptures enough. He took time to understand the hearts of people. He studied people. He rooted everything he taught in knowledge of the scriptures. And he engaged in debate as a means to help others grow. Now, knowledge and study is an excellent way to develop our faith. I call it brain building for believers. Here are some of the things we can do to help strengthen our faith by using our capacity for rational thought and knowledge. First of all, we can study the Bible and study it without presuppositions or previous conclusions. This is called inductive Bible study. Put the study of the Bible first and don't try to think about what you've heard about it before, but have an open mind as you study it. Study the Bible systematically. Read the whole Bible. Read the whole books, not just parts of it, but study the whole piece so that you can understand it as a whole. Study theology. Theology is the distilled knowledge of generations of people who are smarter than you. Listen to them. Study people who disagree with you. Do not presume that people are always wrong or always right, or that every idea is junk just because you're not from that tradition. Listen to what people say and learn from people with whom you disagree. Study the classics. Classics are books that challenge your thinking, whether you agree with them or not. They're the kind of books that you can read over and over again and every time get something new out of. Even if you disagree with what the classic says, it will teach you something because it will challenge your mind to think. Learn to use critical thinking skills. Don't just take people's word for what the Bible says. Don't take a preacher's word for what it says. Learn to ask impertinent questions. There are no stupid questions. All questions are valuable and helpful. Your goal here is to learn, not just to take people's ideas. And beware of the person who accuses you of thinking too much or asking too many questions. The problem with people is not that they think too much, but that they do not think enough. Use your mind, use your critical thinking, and seek out the truth. Here's a guiding star for faith development. Systematically study the scriptures. Think critically about what you hear, say, or read. Argue and debate with other people. Test your ideas against others. And finally, read deeply and widely and as much as you can. Knowledge is just not simply knowing or not knowing. There are different levels of knowing. Educational theory has noticed this for years. Here are some of the novel levels of knowing. First of all, to memorize. Memorization is important to get down the basic facts. Second, understand. That means to be able to restate an idea in your own words. Analyze. Know the parts, reasons, causes, and effects of what you know. Evaluate. Test possible theories against each other. Apply. Learn to use the knowledge that we acquire in our daily life. And finally, create. Take the knowledge we acquire and use it to make new things. And as we do that, that knowledge becomes more and more part of our lives. Now, the door of knowledge leads us to a closer understanding and realization of God. But the door of knowledge and of rational thinking also provides us a way to express our faith to others. Spend time talking with other people about their beliefs and sharing your beliefs with them. Train your mind to explain your faith. Know the reasons for what you believe. Teach and train others in the truth. Help people build up their minds in knowledge. And learn the thoughts and opinions of others as well as yourself. Learn to be open-minded and reasonable in your listening to other people about their faith. Now, in all of the points of this series, we're going to find out that knowledge in itself is not enough. We need to have more than knowledge. Here are some of the limits that we find in knowledge. One of them is to learn to beware of intellectualism. There's a difference between being an intellectual and intellectualism. Intellectuals have a love of knowledge. Intellectualism means the worship of human knowledge as an end in itself. Knowledge has a purpose, and rational and reasonable thinking has a purpose behind it. Don't ever confuse it with our object of faith. Knowledge is not the whole soul. Emotions are also important. God doesn't just speak through us to the head, but with the heart as well. Our understanding of knowledge is affected by sin, just like every part of us. Intellectual knowledge alone will not give us an accurate picture of God. Knowledge sometimes is not enough to hear God, because God can speak directly to our hearts, apart from what we have learned rationally or understand. God can still speak to us directly. And remember, knowledge is no substitute for obedience. Ecclesiastes says, I said I want to be wise, but it was beyond me. Whatever it is, it's far off and most profound. Who can attain it? Ecclesiastes 12:12. There is no end in the crafting of many books, and too much study wearies the body. We need to be something more than merely intellectual.
Now, knowledge in itself is not faith. True faith lies beyond knowledge. Knowledge can be a great tool for finding faith and moving us closer to the heart of the divine. But knowledge, even its dark companion doubt, can guide us to Him, drawing us deeper and deeper to the source of all truth. God seems playful with us at some times. He does not always reveal Himself to us directly, but plays hide and seek with His creation. He is not secretive or cruel, but His divine purpose is evident, inviting us to seek Him, leading us down paths of logic and truth and up mountains of thought until we see Him in His true splendor and glory and purpose. Then, in our joy of finding Him, we enjoy that moment of true revelation. All our intellectual efforts wind up paying off in the end when we find the one who has been waiting for us all along and receive His blessing and joy.